Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen and this is Adex Crochets. So welcome back to another tutorial of our crochet summer top. This is very simple to make and I promise you this is something you're going to wear most of the time. It's not one of those crochet pieces that you're just going to keep in your wardrobe instead of wearing them. So this can be worn on top of jeans, on top of skirts, anything really. And this is perfect for summer, spring, as it does not bring a lot of heat to the body, and the tutorial is very beginner friendly because the stitches used are really so simple and it's more like a repetitive pattern, so it's really going to be simple for you to make. Another thing I'd like to let you know is that I wanted to call this top our popcorn top, so just let me know what you think in the comment section down below as we prepare our materials to get started with the tutorial. So the top is made up of 4 panels. This is the back panel, followed by a front panel. The only difference is that the front panel is holding a neckline, but it's still the same pattern that you create the front panel and the back panel. So after that, you're going to need 2 sleeves, and they are short sleeves. So this is really quick to make. So you're going to need 2 of these, which shall be folding into 2 to form our sleeves like that. And fold this sleeve, put it here, and this is how your top is gonna look like. So we start by making the back panel, and this is made in this format. You start by making I started by making a chain of 50, and then I went on increasing the number of rows. So if you were to measure, I started off with a chain of 50, which is measuring 13 inches long. Okay, sorry, 13 inches wide, and my top was measuring 15 inches long. Okay, but remember when we turn this like this, because this is how our top is arranged. Okay, you start off this side going increasing the number of rows, but then when you're wearing you have to turn it like this. Okay, so it's the same. So it's gonna be 15 inches, and this is running from one shoulder to the other shoulder, and this is the length. Now this turns into the length of the of the top, the 13 inches is. So my top is 13 inches long and 15 inches wide. I hope that makes sense. And as I say, if there's anything you don't understand, I'm always available. Just drop a comment and I'll get back to you. So to get started, you're going to grab your yarn and your hook, make a slip knot. After making a slip knot, you're going to make a chain of 50. That is if you're following my size small to medium. So if you're of a bigger size, you're going to make a chain in multiples of 2, and that has to be running from the end of your left shoulder, let's say, to the end of your right shoulder. So my chain is measuring 14 inches, as you can see. So for the foundation row, not row 1 but rather foundation row, go into the second chain from the hook with a single crochet. So I'm going to go to the back loop of the second chain from the hook with a single crochet. Okay, and for this foundation row, I'm going to single crochet into all the back loops of the chain. So after your foundation row, for row 1, you're going to chain 1 and turn. Okay, after turning, you're going to go into that very first stitch with a single crochet. You see this very first stitch? Go into it with a single crochet. After that, you're going to skip the next stitch here and go into the following stitch. So skip this second stitch, go into this third stitch and pull up a loop. So now you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, go into that same stitch again and pull up a loop. And when you have 4 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. So this is how you do your bead stitch. So chain 1, skip the next stitch and place a bead stitch into the following stitch. So skip this stitch here and go into this stitch. I've shown you how to make the bead stitch. So pull up a loop, yarn over, go into the same stitch and pull up a loop. 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all loops and chain 1. So we are going to place bead stitches into each and every, you skip one chain and place your bead stitch into the next stitch. Okay, skip this stitch, place your bead stitch here, chain 1, skip the next stitch and place your bead stitch into the next stitch. And we are going to repeat this up to the end of the row. I'll meet you when we have 4 stitches left. So we have these few stitches left and we are going to continue the pattern. Skip, place your bead stitch. You can see skip and place it here. And that's how you place your bead stitch. Chain 1. So you're going to skip the next stitch and go into the last stitch with a single crochet. So this is the end of row 1. And by this time we are working with 49 stitches, not 50 like we started with. Remember, we started with the chain of 50, but now you're working with 49 stitches. So for row 2, you're going to chain 1 and turn. Okay, go into this very first stitch with a single crochet. After that, you're going to place a bead stitch into this. There is this little space that is immediately after the bead stitch. We are not working into the chain 1 space. So go into that space that is next to the bead stitch with a bead stitch. So like I've told you, you don't work into the chain 1 space, but rather we are going into that little space that is immediately after our bead stitch with another bead stitch. Okay, so that's where we are going to be placing our bead stitches. I think you can see those tiny little spaces. So that's where we are going to be placing our bead stitches. Another thing you need to know is that if you're following my measurements, you should be having 13 bead stitches per row. Keep that in mind, please. If you started off with 13 bead stitches, make sure that you maintain that. So here we are going to place our last bead stitch into that space that is immediately after the bead stitch. So now that we have 13 bead stitches, chain 1 and you're going to go into this last stitch, as you can see, with a single crochet. So this is the end of your row 2. Okay, after that you're going to just keep repeating the second row until you come up with 5 rows of bead stitches. See, I've only made 2 rows, but continue until you have 5 rows of bead stitches. Then the 6th row we are going to be placing our chain 1 and double crochet row. Okay, so as you can see, this is how I started off my back panel. So this is what you should be having, something like this at least. And I've made 2 rows, but you're going to go ahead and make, you can see I made 5 rows of bead stitches. Okay, and for row 6, that's when we place our chain 1 in double crochet row, like the space row you can see over here. By this time, with 5 rows of bead stitches, it is measuring 2.4 or 2.5 inches long already. Okay, that is just for 5 rows. I give you in inches just in case you are using a different kind of yarn and hook. So for row 6, I assume you're in row 6 now, you're going to chain 2 and turn. After turning, you're going to go into this very first stitch with a double crochet. You're going to chain 1 and yarn over. So now you remember the spaces where we've been placing our bead stitches, the space right next to the bead stitch. That's why we're going to be going with another double crochet. Chain 1, go into the next space with a double crochet. So we're going to do this up to the end. we are coming towards the end. You're going to chain one and place your double crochet into this space next to the bead stitch. This is the last time we are placing next to a bead stitch. Okay, place your double crochet there, and we know we have one stitch, but you're going to chain one again and place your double crochet into that last stitch. So after row 6 here, you're going to repeat row 1 up to 6. So we shall be repeating row 1 to 6 for the back panel, but then we shall be ending with 5 rows of bead stitches. We shall not be ending on row 6. So for row 7, you're going to chain 1 and turn and go into this first stitch with a single crochet. You can see that. So you're going to skip the next chain 1 space and go on top of that double crochet stitch with a bead stitch. Chain 1, skip the next chain 1 space and go on top of the next double crochet with another bead stitch. And this is what you're going to be repeating, and I'll meet you towards the end. Here we are coming towards the end. We've placed our last bead stitch on top of the second last double crochet. Okay, so we have this. We assume this is row 7 actually. So you're going to chain 1 and go into the last stitch, which is also on top of, we skip the stitch here, you can see, and go into the last stitch, which is also on top of a previous double crochet with a single crochet. For row 8, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and continue repeating row 2 for the next 5 rows. So for your back panel, you're going to make sure that you have 5 rows of bead stitches followed by a double crochet row, then again 5 rows of bead stitches followed by a double crochet row, 5 rows of bead stitch, double crochet row, 5 rows, double crochet row, 5 rows, double crochet row, and you end on 5 rows of bead stitches. So all together this is going to give you 35 rows, and you have not yet counted the last row, which is going to be the single crochet row. So we are going to be having 6 panels of 5 bead stitch rows. So this is giving us 15 inches wide and 13 inches long. Okay, so I hope you have something that looks like this. If you're chained more, you need to have your width will be a bit bigger than mine. So for the front panel, we are going to repeat the same procedure like the back panel, and we are going to repeat this up to the 12th row. Okay, so from the 12th row, that's when things are going to change just a little bit. Like you can see, our front row is measuring 15 inches wide, just like the back panel, and we are going to be working normally from row 1 up to row 12. That is around 5.5 inches here, and after row 12, that's when we begin making our neckline. Okay, so work the same thing like you did the back panel until you come up with 12 rows, and here they are measuring 5.5 inches. Yeah, 5.5 inches. So for row 13, that's when we begin creating our neckline here, because we shall be working stopping here and not going any further. This is the point we shall be taking off 10 inches. So let me measure for you properly. So you can see my neckline is only 3 inches long on the left, and the same applies to the right side. So this is 3 inches. So we are going to be working from this point here going downwards. So we shall be working with only 10 inches, and this is going to apply from row 13 to row 23, okay? But still from row 13 to row 23 we are going to be following the pattern of 5 rows of bead stitches and 1 row of double crochet. I hope that makes sense to you, and if there's anything you don't understand, just drop it in the comment section down below. I'll be so glad to get back to you. For row 13, I'm going to make sure that I leave out 10 stitches. I want to be working into the last 10 stitches, and these last 10 stitches are measuring 3 inches. So this last stitch, after leaving out the 10 stitches, of course, this is going to be our last stitch, this stitch over here. So instead of placing a bead stitch, we are going to simply single crochet into that stitch. So chain 1 and turn your work. For row 14, you're going to repeat row 2 just like we were doing. So from row 13 to 23, just this is where you're going to be stopping, okay? You are going to be making sure that you do not exceed where you have stopped for row 13, and you're going to still keep following the same pattern of 5 rows of bead stitches followed by 1 row of double crochet, as you can see over here, okay? From row 13 there is only 1 row of of double crochet in the middle, okay? So you can count from row 13 to row 23, it's just the same number of measurements, okay? Same pattern, only that you won't be exceeding that last where you placed your last 13th row, okay? So after that you're going to go to row 24, and to do row 24, this is what you're going to do. So repeat the same pattern up from the 13th row to the 23rd row, and something is going to change on the 23rd row, okay? So for row 23 something is going to change, so just keep creating. I'll meet you towards this side, okay? As you can see, we continued working, and we assume this is row 23. So row 23 you make a chain and then you come back with a row of a double crochet. So we are coming towards the end of row 23, okay? So chain 1, place your last single crochet there, but what's going to change here is that for row 23 you're going to again make a chain, okay? Remember you put off 10 stitches when you were making your neckline, okay? So now you're going to add on those 10 stitches. After adding on those 10 stitches, you're going to make a chain of 2. The 10 stitches are added on by simply chaining 10, okay? 10 more after the 23rd row. So when you chain 2, you skip these 2 stitches. For row 24, you turn, skip the next 2 stitches, and go into the 3rd stitch from the hook with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and go into the next stitch with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip the next stitch here, go into the following stitch with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip the next stitch and go into the following stitch with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip the next stitch and go into the following stitch with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and as you can see, when we skip this stitch, the next stitch we are working into is the previous single crochet stitch of row 23. So go into it and with a double crochet. So you remember how we were doing our row 6? Just proceed like that. So for row 25, chain 1 in turn and just continue with row 1, repeat row 1. Okay, and as I told you, the pattern does not change. It's 5 rows of bead stitches and 1 row of a double crochet. 5 rows of bead stitches, 1 row of double crochet, so that we keep the pattern flowing. So just proceed the same way we've been doing. Okay, follow the pattern from row 1 to row 35. So this is what we have. This is our front panel, like I said, and we have already inserted our neckline in the middle, you see, and the middle is made up of from row 13 to row 23, and then we proceeded normally like we did for the back panel. And this is what we have: 5 rows of bead stitch and 1 row of double crochet, and you're going to be ending on 5 rows of bead stitches. After that, we shall be placing our row of single crochets. So for row 36 here on the front panel, we end with a row of single crochets. Remember, we started off with the foundation row of single crochet, so this is like the ending row of single crochets. Okay, so for all my panels, I started with a single crochet and ended with a row of single crochets. So to place your single crochet at the end of the row, it's just chain 1 turn, place your single crochet into the first stitch, and now go into the chain 1 space with another single crochet. Go into that space where we've been placing our bead stitch with a single crochet. Go into the chain 1 space, single crochet. So we are only single crocheting into the space where we were placing our bead stitches, and then also into the chain 1 spaces. So I assume you're done making your back panel and the front panel. So the next thing to do is gonna be the sleeves, and the sleeves are 2, one for the left, one for the right arm, and they are typically identical. You can make yours as long as you want them to be. Remember, I started off with a chain 50 for the back panel and the front panel, but I decided to start off with a chain of 60 for my sleeves because I wanted them to be just a little bit wider. And after that, I followed the pattern like we have been doing. You see the same pattern of the back panel, and that's 1 row of the foundation row, followed by 5 bead stitch rows, followed by 1 double crochet row, followed by 5 bead stitch row, and you end with a single crochet row. So this gives us 11 rows in total. And as you can see, the measurement is not as wide, and it's measuring almost 16 inches wide. You can see my sleeve is 16 inches wide, and you're gonna need 2 of these. We are going to be joining, and this is our next step, close to the final step. So we join the shoulder part together, the top of the shoulder here. We join this part together first, and then I'll show you how to join others later on. So you're gonna come, grab your hook, and you can see I've joined one part already. So let's join the other part together. So grab your hook and attach your yarn. I'll be attaching it to the front panel. As you can see, go to the corner, top right corner, as you can see, and attach your yarn. After attaching your yarn, make sure it's tightened in place. You're going to make a chain of 2. So this is chain of 1, chain of 2. After making a chain of 2, you're going to grab your back panel, still go to the top right corner, and you're going to slip stitch. Then you're going to make a chain of 2 again, 1 and 2. And since we have no stitches to work into, you need to be really mindful here, because you are simply going to be making sure that at least where you place your slip stitches is corresponding both on the back panel and the front panel. So go to the back again, slip stitch, chain 2, come to the front panel, just into the nearby neck space and slip stitch, chain 2, go to the back next to the nearby space and slip stitch again. And I'm going to do this until the whole of this front shoulder part is done. When you're done, you can now cut your yarn and pull up the loop. So this is what we have. We have already joined the front part, leaving out the neckline, which is like a tiny little box, but this is really enough. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to be identifying where our sleeves are going to be attached. Not to attach the sleeves yet, but rather to identify where we are going to be stopping, stitching together our work. You see that left sideways and then the right sideways, that's space we join together, leaving out the armhole. So we are going to be joining together how many? 6 inches, sorry. We are going to be joining together 6 inches and leaving out 7 inches. Okay, because you can see our sleeve will be taking up 7 inches, so we chain the remaining space. And to do that, I came here. This is to be done on both sides, so I came here and I counted off the number of stitches just to be exact, because the method we are using to stitch our work together, you need the stitches to be really exact. So I've counted off 21 stitches from down coming upwards, 21 stitches up to here. And now I'm going to grab my hook, come here, and this is where I'm going to insert my yarn, attach my yarn, sorry. And now you're going to make a chain of 2, and after making a chain of 2, you're gonna come to the front panel. Remember, I've started off with the back panel. Come to the front panel. Remember, you started off with counting 21 stitches from down below going upwards of the top. You're going to repeat the same method, count 21 stitches, and this is where they end. Okay, so now go into this 21st stitch and slip stitch. After that, make a chain of 2, come to the back panel, skip this next stitch and go into the next stitch with a slip stitch again, chain 2, come to the front panel, skip the next stitch here, go into the next stitch and slip stitch, chain 2 again, come to the back panel, and we are going to be repeating this method up to the until we have no more stitches to work into. We are coming towards the end. Come into this last stitch with a slip stitch, chain 2, and come into the last stitch onto the front panel also and make a slip stitch. Now you can chain 1 and you can cut off your yarn, pull out the loop just like this. So you can see how neat our top looks. Don't mind about the excess yarn, we shall weave that in later on. So you can see we have left out the armhole and joined this sideways and the work looks neat. So we are going to repeat this method onto this side also. I'm done joining the sides and this is how our work looks like. I hope you like it. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to join the sleeves. So you remember how we joined the front of the top? That top part of the top, the shoulder part. That's the same method we are going to use here for the sleeves also. I'm done joining the sleeves. As you can see, they are short because I wanted mine to be short, but if you want yours to be longer, just measure the length against your arm and you're good to go. So this is where I'm going to be attaching our sleeves like this, and it's going to be really easy. same method of chain 2, slip stitch, chain 2, slip stitch, and I'll be showing you that into detail so you don't have to worry about that. So I've already joined one sleeve to the top, as you can see here, and the next thing you're going to do, I'm going to show you how to join the other sleeve onto the top, because remember it's the same method. So when you're joining your sleeve, make sure that the wrong side of the top is on top and the right side of the sleeve is the one on top. So grab your sleeve, you can see the Z format that we used to join the sleeve. Come and make sure that it's matching the Z format on the zigzag format on the body, okay, because this is our underarm. So arrange it well, even it out to fit into the armhole, and you have something like this. So this is quite easy and clear to join. So you're gonna come here and attach your yarn, and we are doing this onto the body, not onto the sleeve, okay? So come to where we started to join from, and you're going to attach your yarn. Make sure it's tightened in place, and now you're going to make a chain of make a chain of 2, okay? So chain 1 and 2. After chaining 2, you're gonna come onto the sleeve, still identify where the zigzag starts from, and that's this point here where we started off joining, okay? Remember we used that zigzag method. So chain 2, come, this is where the zigzag ends onto the body, go in there, and then you're also going to slip stitch, chain 2, come onto the sleeve, still identify where we stopped joining over here, and you're going to slip stitch, then make chain of 2, come here. Don't worry about the start, might be a bit hectic, but then we're going to find stitches which make it a lot easier to join, okay? So after that, you're going to chain 2 and come to the sleeve, which is on the inside here. Skip the next stitch and go into that stitch, chain 2 again, come here, skip the next stitch and go into the next stitch, slip stitch, and then chain 2, come onto the sleeve, skip the next stitch, go into the next stitch with a slip stitch, then chain 2. So you're simply going to continue repeating this all around, and in case there's anything you don't understand, please feel free to comment, write your query in the comment section, and I'll be getting back to you real soon. So this is all you're going to do all around the sleeve, and this is done for both the left sleeve and then the right sleeve. After joining off the whole row, the whole sleeve, you can now make a chain and cut your yarn. Pull out the loop. So we are done joining our sleeves onto the body. Okay, so now you can turn it inside out. You can see this is how our top is looking so far. And this is not even the final result yet, because we have that magnificent edging that makes the whole top transform, okay? So this is what you should be having at this point. And to attach our edging, this is for someone who wants something just simple with the same color of yarn you've used for your top. You're going to grab a bigger hook and you're going to attach your yarn. Make sure it's tight, chain 1. After chaining 1, go into the next stitch. You can work into stitches, but you can also work just below the stitches for as long as the hook can can go inside, okay, because you're using a bigger hook now. So continue going into each and every space you can find with a twisted single crochet, and this is how you make the twisted single crochet. Okay, insert your hook into the space, pull up a loop and twist it around like this once, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. It's really easy once you grasp the pattern of it. Go into the space, twist, pull up a loop through both loops. Okay, so you're going to repeat this and all around the sleeves, around the neck, and then around the bottom, like the bottom of the top. And then for the popcorn kind of feel, I used a chunky yarn, 4-ply yarn actually, but then I used 4 strands, and I also used 8mm hook to come up with that design you see on my top. But if you want something simple and normal, this is the way to go. Make a slip stitch and chain 1, then cut your yarn. Okay, and then for this, as I've told you, the cream edging that I have, I'm using 4-ply yarn, 4 strands, 8mm hook. I start off the exact same way I started off with the normal yarn, and I end off the exact same way that I ended off with the normal yarn that I use for my top. I've already shown you that step actually, so you can use whichever yarn size you have and still achieve an amazing look of this top. So after pulling out your yarn, you have already, let's say, added your edging to wherever you have to add your edging, the sleeves, the neckline, and then the bottom of the top. The only thing remaining is for you to weave in the ends and then cut off the excess yarn, and like that your top is so ready to wear. So if you like this video, please do not forget to give it a thumbs up, comment on it, share it, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more crochet videos. Thank you for watching and happy crocheting.